Once upon a time, the computer hemisphere was controlled by a collection of governments, the vendors, and inhabited by many citizens, the users. Relationships were harmonious. Governments were happy with their growth and high profits because the citizens, realizing improved benefits, were prepared to pay higher taxes. But as the citizens became better educated, they began to question the legitimacy of the governments of the computer hemisphere. They began to perceive their governments as autocratic. They resented the limitations on their freedom and the heavy taxes imposed by their governments. The citizens demanded a new relationship with their governments, freedom of choice. Some of the more adventurous users shifted their allegiances to newly formed revolutionary governments who told the citizens that their demands were just and promised to meet them. Other citizens opted for civil disobedience, reducing their government's tax revenues. Harmony turned into chaos. Prompted by an alliance between the most powerful of the revolutionary governments and a huge government from the communications hemisphere that saw its chance to invade the computer hemisphere, the established governments banded together. They issued a statement to their citizens that their calls for freedom would be met. New lights would be developed that would guarantee their freedom. These new lights, emphasizing freedom through diversity, would be called standards. Users who procured products conforming to these standards would be free. But the alliance told the citizens that the governments hadn't changed. Citizens were informed that diversity was a code name for the products made by the governments, so it could not be the pathway to freedom. If freedom were to be obtained, the government's products must be rejected. Standardized products from the new low-tax governments would make diversity unnecessary and undesirable. Standardized products would make them free. But the citizens were attracted to these new lights. They understood that by conforming to these standards, they could enjoy the benefits of multiple citizenship. They could take the best from each government. It would work together. They would become true citizens of this world. They became free.
Well, Richard, would you tell me a bit about SoftPC?
No. But since you
Okay,
asked,
then I'll
I
tell
will.
you about SoftPC.
Please don't. Let me proceed. There are 75 million PCs in the world, Marshall. They outnumber our workstations by 500 to 1. That sounds like an opportunity to me, doesn't it, to you?
Sounds like an excellent opportunity, Richard.
Okay. Do you realize that DOS is the most widely accepted operating system in the world?
Yes, I do.
That there's more DOS applications than any other applications in the world?
Yes, I do.
That there's 4 million copies of MS Windows in the world and they're selling them at 11,000 a day?
Wow.
Does that make it a standard or what? I ask you. So what? Do we
So
care?
what are we doing about this?
Well, I'll tell you what we're doing. We have products that can run all this stuff on our VAX and RISC workstations. We have products that are as good as any of our competitors today. But nobody knows about it. And I'm upset. And I'm going to stamp my banana up and down. We did have some failures. VAX PC was a failure. It was slow, it was buggy, and it was going nowhere. We improved it. We brought out SoftPC version 1. It was slow, it wasn't buggy, but it was going somewhere. It went to SoftPC version 2. That gave us double performance, floating point, better graphics, time sharing, it didn't hog the CPU, and it made people happy. And the number one thing about it is it's a DEC product. DEC sold, DEC supported worldwide. Doesn't that make you smile?
Yes, it does.
Oh, good.
Well, what happened with VAX PC? Originally, I heard that VAX PC was going to run at AT speed
Well,
on a VAX station. What happened there?
we got rid of it. I don't want to go into that, Marshall, but I want people to unlearn a couple of things that they found out about VAX-PC. They think
Good.
that our products today are still slow, and they're not, and they think that our products today are still third-party, and they're not. So if they can unlearn that and stop getting suckered into the sun deal about you have to run native this and you have to run native that. When I get in my car and it goes from A to B, I don't care what's under the hood and what firing order the pistons are. It does the job. And Fidelity down in Boston can tell you that today. And later on in this clip, we're going to have an excerpt from what they're saying to us. How about competitive stuff? All our competitors, unfortunately, have SoftPC. Are we better than them? Well, in some cases, yes. In some cases, not quite. We tend to be on the leading edge of that curve. IBM is actually on the trailing edge. They have their own product, and it's not very good. And as we proceed along our future versions, we are going to be either ahead of or only just a little bit behind our competitors. I don't think it's going to be a real issue because we're going to be pretty close. And if we can't ship the product today, we can at least demo what's comparable out there. Sun doesn't compete with DEC or IBM. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
No, a lot of people don't know that. It's a big mystery. They compete with the DOS machines on the desktop. They come into accounts and they say, look, there's one little old DEC over there and there's one little old IBM over there. But look at all these DOS machines ready to be replaced. And that's what they do. The first thing they do is they say, we will make DOS a non-issue. And by the way, now you're going into the future with RISC architecture, performance, Ethernet, openness, Unix, and all that stuff. People buy it. They've already bought 20,000 SPARC stations to replace DOS machines on the desktop. And we can do the same.
What do they do about the byte ordering? Isn't the byte ordering different on a Sun workstation
They
than
mumble.
a PC?
Yeah, it is. They mumble and they hide it. We're, of course, in a very good position there because our byte ordering is correct, as the ACE 60 companies will attest to. So we don't have that problem. Logicraft. We should talk about Logicraft. They are CMP of ours, and they add value with the fact that they have a bus, they can run protected mode, they can run funny DOS peripherals, CDs, faxes, and so on. They even have a product you can plug into existing PCs. If you're replacing these PCs with our workstations, they can still use those PCs and bring up a window right on their workstation, thus protecting their investment. That's a neat product. It's called OmniWare.
How many customers are using the SoftPC, and how many of them really use it with applications? I mean, is this just a curiosity to run DOS applications once in a while? Do the customers really use SoftPC? Are they really usable?
Yeah, there's about 500,000 customers of SoftPC in the world. About half of those are on the Apple Mac platform, which incidentally runs very slowly. But it's sold as such, and there's no misset expectation. It has been seen throughout the industry as being a very formidable product and a very useful product. One of the things which may blow your socks off, Marshall, are you wearing socks today?
Yes, I am, Richard.
Okay, well, get ready. Sun's number 1 and 2 product that they're selling today, layered product, is PC NFS and SoftPC.
Wow.
They build a RISC box, and the two things they sell on it most are DOS. You still got socks on?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was going to be more exciting.
How well do the leading DOS applications run? What about Windows 3? We hear so much about Windows 3. How does SoftPC run Windows 3?
Well, today it runs it through the emulator, and so on the high-end DEC stations it runs it at a very acceptable performance. On the slower VAXs it may cause some problems, so I suggest people borrow the product and try it if that's what they want to do, and then see if it does meet their requirements. With the version 3, however, we have a native Windows driver which goes anywhere between 4 and 50 times the performance for Windows, and you're getting well up into the 386 range of performance on our RISC machines today with that product. I just want to talk a little bit about ACE. How does this fall into the ACE message? And as you know, ACE machines will run DOS applications. They've stated that. And so if we have machines today that run DOS applications and ACE machines tomorrow that run DOS applications, then it sounds like a continuum to me. Microsoft OS2 version 3 is going to run DOS, backwards compatible of course, on their NT platform. And the way they're going to do that on the RISC little Indian machine is through an emulator technology. And so you're going to get a big sense of deja vu, or vujade.
Well, isn't that a clear advantage that we would have with ACE compatibility, is that the data files that the DOS applications create under SoftPC should be 100% compatible with the data files that will run under ACE applications that don't run under SoftPC. So that would seem a clear advantage over Sun that we'd have.
It is a clear advantage.
Event.
It is a clear advantage, but that advantage is only good if our salespeople and our customers know about it. And that's the whole thing I'm trying to get across with SoftPC. 'Cause 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 '
Well, the Fidelity Accounting and Custody Services does pretty much what those two things might imply to some people. The accounting side of it, down here in our company, the accountants deal with basically mutual funds, not other types of investments, but your mutual funds like Magellan and that sort of thing that probably many of you have money invested in. They manage the funds, do the expenses, and that sort of things. Also pricing of funds. Every day in the newspaper when you look up a price, that price came from accounting and custody services. So each day, and in some cases every hour, prices on funds are being reported. The custody side, or custodial services, is basically what we do with all of that money once it's all been sort of amassed together. And we have what are called custodians or custodian banks, and basically they hold and manage the funds for us. The decision was made to replace the PC technology in accounting and custody services with workstations, specifically digital Alteryx workstations. Of course, putting this kind of technology on the user's desk and confronting them with it when they were just getting used to PCs has culture shock embedded into it. So number one, we had to tread very slowly and carefully to sort of help them get over the hump of the technology alone. The other side of the coin is that we have a considerable amount of time and money invested in PC software and support, so we couldn't obviously just throw that out the window overnight. We had to be able to provide a vehicle for the accountants to be able to do their work exactly the same way that they did before we dropped this workstation on their desk. And SoftPC was the answer for us, a DOS emulation package running on the Alteryx workstation, which could in fact allow them to continue to use the DOS tools that they were very comfortable with. Well, some of the difficulties that we encountered with SoftPC basically came from the beginning that we were working with SoftPC in the beginning as a package deal with the workstations. It was a beta product at the time, and there were several issues that needed to be resolved, things that we needed specifically for our accountants' functionality that they needed. One of those things was the ability to use the same kind of disk technology, floppy disk technology that they were using on the PCs. And there were a few problems with some of the drivers. Those problems were resolved quickly enough. We were able to move on. A couple of other issues were coprocessor issues with SoftPC. Again, the engineering team worked very diligently to sort of work those things out, and they were causing errors in Lotus spreadsheets. So needless to say, in an environment that works with billions of dollars worth of money, if we were off by $1 or $2, that's a considerable amount for us. So the coprocessor needed to be pretty solid. And then on the lighter side, just sort of a feature thing, the version you see behind me is again a beta version, and it actually is taking up more of the screen, where the original version was just a very small window and was causing some strain to the accountants on their eyes and that sort of thing. But again, another thing, that feature or an issue that's been resolved very nicely by the SoftPC engineering team. As far as future plans, again, I go back to the reason that SoftPC was originally sort of utilized in the DEC workstation, and that was, again, to make the transition to the new technology and avoid the culture shock and other sorts of issues that our accountants have. Our primary goal is to move to workstation-based applications, products. We are currently in the process of testing a native Alteryx spreadsheet, as well as word processing packages and that sort of thing. And I think that ultimately what we see SoftPC doing is sort of quote-unquote a luxury, another piece of software that's there, a tool to be utilized if needed, when needed, but it's not going to have the criticality that it's had from the beginning. As SoftPC is window-based, in this case, X-window technology with the Motif user interface, graphical user interface. One of the things the accountants loved very much was the ability to be able to carry on several processes at once and obviously become more productive that way. Here we see SoftPC. They can work on a spreadsheet. They could bring up another SoftPC with the same spreadsheet, or another second spreadsheet for comparison. In the case of two copies of SoftPC with the same spreadsheet, they could look at cell A1 and compare it with Z147 without ever having to move around in the spreadsheet. And also moving to the native applications in Alteryx, as we see here, the Exclaim spreadsheet. I do in fact have the same spreadsheet up in both applications.
In April of this year, we brought out SoftPC version 2. This is a DEC product sold and serviced worldwide by Digital. The enhancements over version 1 are that we doubled the speed, which is very important. We supported EGA graphics, as well as the CGA and Hercules graphics. We support time-sharing machines and the VT220 terminal. We know how to detect the idle in DOS, so that when a DOS isn't running, or when it's just idling, we don't hog the whole CPU on a time-sharing machine. And we also support the 287 coprocessor, which means that floating point operations go somewhere close to 100 times as fast as version 1. We have future versions coming. VGA, resizable windows, native Windows drivers. A little bit further out, we have protected mode support. Beyond that, who knows? We will track the industry and respond. I want you to feel as confident about our DOS capabilities on our VAX and RISC machines as you do about our Fortran capabilities, which are legendary in the industry. Remember, unlike a hardware solution, software solutions are infinitely malleable.
Oh, hi, I'm Jim Givler, Project Manager for SoftPC. Let me show you what you can do with SoftPC here in a demo. Run Quattro Pro. Quattro Pro is a more graphical spreadsheet. Also allows you to use a mouse, which I will attach. Attach my mouse so that I will have a pointer that I can use. Okay, let's go up and pick a file by using the mouse. Open a file. We have some in. Let's use a sample that comes with the spreadsheet just to show the responses. Now we can do the same thing with this spreadsheet as you could with Lotus 1, 2, 3. Add entries. Let us also, because this is more graphical, let us pick up the graphics portion of this, and I'll do a fast graph. Since I know where I'm going, I will just come up here. I can also drag the mouse and select an area, but I will just go to H14, frame it and tell it to do a fast graph. We can also do Harvard graphics. For that, I will change to a different hard disk. I can set up devices, come over and pick up our disk drives. Change this from test to Harvard. Don't have to kill the other one. It's going to kill because I do an automatic restart when I reattach a hard disk. CD down to, go to D, and CD down to Harvard Graphics, and run Harvard Graphics. Harvard Graphics comes up. This is a new 2.3. My mouse is already attached because I have not disconnected the mouse, so we can come down through. Let's get ourselves a chart. Show you a chart. And now let me give you a hint of things to come. People requested we be able to make a larger window in our next version, which actually I'm running here. If I detach my mouse, I grab a corner of it, stretch it to 2 sizes, the second size, bring it up on its second size. Additionally, if I come out to devices and take a look at display types, you'll notice we have VGA. This will also support VGA.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Good afternoon, Direct Tech Support. How can we help?
Yes, NASA's network application support.
Of course we support SEO Unix.
We are a major player in OSF. Digital supports open standards. Take DECnet OSI, for example. With DECnet and TCP/IP, we can integrate with your existing systems. ACE means Advanced Computing Environment for hardware and software.
Yes, options are mere basically Windows system.
Yes, you can display X11 Windows on your DOS PC using Pathworks.
We supply industry standard